YouTube world, YouTube world, fight fans, I salute. This is Nocturnal Thoughts, Boxing After Dark. Want to knock out another quick video. Drink me an energy drink. This is body armor, but I got some pre-workout in here. And I just had a little bit of coffee, caffeine. So my energy probably going to be a little too wired. But I'm going to take that energy, put it into this video. Then I'm going to go down to my park, get me a quick workout in before I start burning the midnight oil. So today's quick video, man, Charlo versus Derevyanchenko and Jermell Charlo versus Jason Rosario on Showtime, a pay-per-view event September 26th. And it's like when you start to see the life come back into this sport that we love, this is probably the best news that I've seen as far as everything else in between since COVID-19 has just been like kind of hypothetical, just ideas. This seems to be something a lot more tangible. It says Showtime Sports and Premier Boxing Champions return to the ring with a robust live boxing schedule spanning 5 months, 9 live events, 18 undefeated fighters, 9 world champions, and 8 world championship fights begin Saturday, August the 1st. Showtime Sports and Premier Boxing Champions announced today a lineup of 9 live boxing events featuring 18 undefeated fighters, 9 world champions, and 8 world championship fights, including 1 title unification bout. The schedule comprises 22 critical matchups from bantamweight to heavyweight and features some of the biggest stars in the sports today, including Gervonta Tank Davis, Leo Santa Cruz, Jermell Charlo, Jermall Charlo, David Benavidez, and more. It is the largest collection of world championship boxings announced since the COVID-19 pandemic forced a stoppage of the sport. Man, it looks like Jermell Charlo and Jermall Charlo are going to be fighting on the same pay-per-view event, and that's going to be interesting in and of itself to see how that plays out. Because last time they were on the same pay-per-view, I think that was the night that Jermell Charlo lost his title to Tony Harrison, and Jermall Charlo had a tough fight that he edged out. And I'm trying to see, who was that fight against? That fight was against Brandon Adams, I believe. Then Jermall Charlo went on to fight Dennis Hogan. I remember that fight. He won that fight by TKO. If I get an opportunity, maybe tonight or tomorrow night, I'll watch that fight. And his next opponent is going to be Sergey Derevyanchenko. Now, I believe Sergey Derevyanchenko was coming off a fight with Triple G. And a lot of people thought he won that fight. I actually gave that fight to Triple G. It was a close fight. It definitely wasn't the fight that, Triple G is known for having. I think he really had to grit down and battle out some rounds. It was a close fight. It could have went either way. You know what I'm saying? It could have even been a draw. I don't even know the exact results of how that fight went down. Let me see. I know it is listed as a unanimous decision loss to Gennady Golovkin. But I remember when that fight went down, and a lot of people were giving Triple G a very harsh criticism. And I just watched the fight for myself and said, you know what, that was a tough fight. But I think Triple G did enough to take that victory. And the next day, when they went and did an interview with Sergey Derevyanchenko, his whole face was completely swollen up. And it looked like he had been into a car accident. So I was like, how was people acting like Triple G just got completely outboxed? He was getting outboxed. He wasn't looking as good as, we would have thought Triple G was supposed to look. But Triple G went into different gears to overcome that obstacle. Derevyanchenko just proved to be tougher opposition than what he might have been getting credit for. And, Triple G to me was getting overly criticized. It was a good match. I would love to see it again. Matter of fact, if I get a chance, I'm going to go back and watch the Derevyanchenko versus Triple G fight just to refresh my memory. But I remember Derevyanchenko being tough, being crafty, and having a lot of different tools in his toolbox. But I don't think it was enough to win against Triple G. Triple G just, had that power that kind of got to a point where it overran the Ukrainian Derevyanchenko. But it was a tough fight all the way through the 12th round. With that being said, how would I think Derevyanchenko is going to hold up against Charlo? That's very interesting. And we want to see the outcome. Maybe the outcome of Charlo versus Derevyanchenko will set up a case for the winner of that fight to looking at, Canelo. I don't know if they're still talking about Canelo fighting Triple G for a trilogy, and then maybe the winner of that fight can fight the winner of this fight. I don't know for sure. But Derevyanchenko is tough. I want to go back and do my due diligence on his resume. The last fight I can recall of him is with Triple G, and like I said, he definitely made a good case for himself to be a competitor against Charlo. Charlo, his last fight was a knockout against Dennis Hogan, and I want to refresh my memory on that. But he looked like Charlo. Charlo, to me, his momentum has always been progressive. Jermell Charlo suffered somewhat of a setback when he fought Tony Harrison for the first time. I thought actually that was a close fight too. It could have went either way. It could have been a draw. But to me, I gave that fight to Jermell Charlo. In the 12th round, he really had rocked Tony Harrison, and Tony Harrison barely made it out of the 12th round without being knocked out or knocked down. And then, we already know what happened in the rematch against Jermell Charlo and Tony Harrison. He was able to be victorious with the knockout in the 11th round. After a somewhat, I wouldn't say a tough fight, Tony Harrison was still showing that he can outbox Jermell Charlo, but Tony Harrison got knocked down in the second round. He started to put himself back into the match. I think the commentation for that match was a little biased because he was the champion, but Jermell Charlo didn't leave it in the hands of the judges. He actually knocked out Tony Harrison in the 11th round. And that was that was a great comeback story. He's going to be fighting Jazan Rosario. The last I can remember of Rosario was when I watched his fight against Nathaniel and Gallimore. Nathaniel Gallimore actually defeated him, but it was a close matchup. And then Gallimore went on to fight J-Rock, and J-Rock beat Nathaniel Gallimore. So we already know how that played out. J-Rock gets knocked out by Jermall Charlo, and he gets knocked out with a crucial shot, and people started to count him out. Well, he was able to make a comeback, and he faced Jarrett Swift Hurd, and he was able to discombobulate and break down Swift Hurd and put himself back in a position to fight, Jason Rosario. So they had a lot of people, myself included, looked at it like, the triangle theory. Nathaniel Moore, what they have in common, Jason Rosario fighting Nathaniel. Nathaniel beat, Rosario. Then you had J-Rock who fought Gallimore. He beat Gallimore. So I'm looking at it like J-Rock should have a tough fight on his hands against Rosario, but he should win that fight against Rosario. Lo and behold, he didn't come to that fight totally prepared. He didn't look the same way he looked against, I'm talking about J-Rock. J-Rock didn't look the same that he looked against Swift Hurd, he caught some shots that I was just surprised by. He got caught with some shots that put him on Bambi legs, put him on spaghetti legs. He went back into the ropes and he fell forward, and Rosario finished him off. And if I get an opportunity, I'm gonna go back and watch that fight too. That was a good highlight fight. It was unexpected, but right after Rosario defeated J-Rock, you know, people just want to say, "What's next? What's next?" They don't want to sit and let a man, you know, enjoy his victory. So they's like, "What's next? Are you going to fight Jermell Charlo?" And he's like, "I don't know if I'm ready to fight Jermell Charlo." I watched a little documentary on Rosario after he lost against Nathaniel Gallimore, and he had to go into like a special training camp where they started living that fighter's lifestyle away from his family and strictly just focused on training, eating correctly, a warrior's lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Where pretty much all you do is eat, sleep, and train boxing, nothing else, no outside distractions. And that, when I seen that documentary, it kind of said to me, when we see him again, you know, he cut the braids off and everything, was on Rosario, he cut the braids off. I said, when we see him again, he's going to be a different fighter. I didn't know who his fight was at the time. I watched that documentary on Rosario before there was a scheduled fight between him and J-Rock. So when he fought against J-Rock, the way he beat J-Rock after the fact, you know, hindsight is 2020. I was like, yeah, I should have seen that coming. You know, J-Rock, after he won, you know, his mind started going into other directions. Man, he focused on boxing, but I watched a little, not documentary, but just kind of behind the scenes of J-Rock, and he was getting into some real estate, trying to invest into his business. And let me text that back real quick. And it looked like to me he was just trying to expand outside of boxing, since boxing provided him an opportunity to try to, you know, start to build on his legacy and his generational wealth. He was going in some of that direction, and that's cool. I salute that. That's what you are supposed to do, diversify. But at the same time, that could have been just enough of the distraction that put you in a position to lose against Rosario, who was in training mode and was, you know, not looking at making financial investments and building houses and providing, you know, the next plan for trying to diversify my funds. He could have just been like, I'm just going to be completely in fight mode. So I said that to say this. That brings us to Rosario, or Jason Rosario versus Jermell Charlo. I've been watching Jermell Charlo. He's doing something similar to like what Adrian Broner was doing with About Billions. And he's kind of doing a day-to-day life type of showing you behind the scenes. He built his grandmother, he built her a new trailer, and you know, he's showing you how he's been handling the COVID pandemic, staying at home with his family, just going on his day-to-day, going his adventurous type of little lifestyle. Not to say little, his lifestyle. He's just been showing people like how he lives on a day-to-day basis. But I haven't seen much of his training and how dedicated he is to the craft, but I just don't see him not being dedicated to the craft, especially coming off that victory against Tony Harrison. And before he fought Tony Harrison and got that rematch, I forget who was the guy he fought. Who was the guy he fought right before Tony Harrison? When Tony Harrison pulled out, let me look that up real quick. Tony Harrison pulled out because of an injury to his ankle or something like that, right? And they had to put in a filler to fill in that spot. So Jermell Iron Man Charlo, he fought Jorge Cota. That's what he fought. When he fought Jorge Cota, he stiffed him, sparked him. And I think that is another thing that added on to the fear factor of Tony Harrison going into that rematch. You know what I'm saying? It was like Jorge Cota He wasn't just a pushover. You know what I'm saying? That was a good substitute fight for Tony Harrison, and the way he froze up and put Jorge Cota in GI Joe mode, like statue mode. You know what I'm saying? So I have no doubt that Derek James and Jermell Charlo, along with Errol Spence, they don't have that type of mentality to where they're not going to train and do the things the way they need to do. Jermell Charlo stays in shape. He's athletic, but he's going to be going up against tough opposition with Rosario. So y'all let me know who y'all think is going to edge out that fight. But I'm looking forward to it. Both of those fights, just that's dynamic. That's great. To see them back on pay-per-view together, that twin power situation. Like I said, last time it didn't work out as well, but we've had the setback, we had the COVID. It'd be, delightful to see them back on the same card, and they're fighting against tough competition. Derevyanchenko is tough. It's not going to be an easy win at all. And same thing with Rosario. Rosario is not going to be a cakewalk. So y'all let me know how y'all think that's going to go. Give me some fight predictions, what y'all think about the outcome, and leave me some comments and some feedback. So I appreciate y'all time. Nocturnal Thoughts. I'm finna drink this. I'm finna go to the park. I'm finna do some pull-ups, and I'll get back with y'all later. Salute. Appreciate you. And be blessed, man. Be safe. Nocturnal Thoughts. I'm out.